With the recent news surrounding VCHA, JYP Entertainment's unsettling and controversial ways of how they manage their idols have resurfaced online. Despite the K-pop industry getting more progressive, JYP idols still seem to have it hard as ever. Being an idol is definitely not a piece of cake, and the strict rules given by their agencies often make the job even more difficult than it already is. Surviving in the harsh industry is not for everyone, especially since idols join when they are still really young but are considered as adults by everyone around them. Thankfully, now we have protective laws against minor idols, but the situation was very different years ago. Park Ji-yeon, known for the legendary song Adult Ceremony, which is often performed when idols turn 20, knows a lot about what it's like to be so young in such a difficult industry. In an interview from 2012, she revealed that she didn't expect the song to be so racy and suggestive. Adult Ceremony is undoubtedly the reason why she became so popular, but it's also why she decided to leave the industry shortly after. The song started a string of horrible rumors that took a huge toll on Ji-yeon's mental health and made her not want to live. Since Ji-yeon comes from a strongly religious family, she wanted to keep a pure image and hated the racy concept the company created for her. She left JYP Entertainment in 2003, stating that she felt as if the company was restricting the creative direction she wanted to take. This wouldn't be the first nor the last time that JYP got criticized for pushing a certain concept on their young idols. In 2015, the company became a hot topic after TWICE appeared in an advertisement wearing what were considered to be suggestive school uniforms. Not to mention, these posters used phrases like trim the skirt, tighten the jacket, or corset jacket. Many netizens saw this ad as very inappropriate for the young girls and students as well, as they argued that they are too young to be portrayed in a suggestive way. It's widely known that good looks play an immense role in the K-pop industry, and companies often go to extreme lengths to make sure their idols look as attractive as ever. JYP is notoriously known for putting their idols on difficult diets to achieve the desired look. TWICE's Momo pre-debut story is widely known among K-pop fans, and although it's been years since it happened, it's still relevant today. In the past, Momo opened up about going on a really difficult diet where she had to lose 15 pounds. If she didn't manage to lose the weight, the company would not let her debut. She used extreme measures to lose those pounds, only eating ice cubes for the whole week. On top of not eating anything at all, she would go to the gym all the time and spit so there was no water in her body. When she would lie down at night and try to sleep, she would break down due to her fear of not waking up in the morning. Even though she starved herself, she wasn't able to lose those 15 pounds by the set date, so the company starved her for 3 more days. Thankfully, Momo managed to gain those 15 pounds right back and indulged in all of her favorite foods right after the showcase. While it's pretty common for idols to go on diets shortly before their comebacks or debuts, it's quite different at JYP. ITZY once confessed they all had to diet for a whole year when they were trainees. The girls dealt with it their own way though. They would diet throughout the day and then have a feast of fried chicken and watermelon at night. But the situation is more heartbreaking and concerning than it might seem at first glance. Stray Kids Felix once expressed his need to go on a diet before one of their shows, saying he needed to diet until he would see his own bones. This obviously worried the group's fans immensely, even though Felix clarified that the part about his bones was a joke. ITZY's Chaeryeong once talked about wanting a pill that would make her full and her appetite gone. While diets are hugely normalized in the K-pop industry, many netizens fear that JYP is taking things way too far. When former Stray Kids member Kim Wojin was still with the company, he had to endure a long string of restrictive diets. For weeks, he wasn't allowed to eat anything else than just one protein bar every day, and once a week, he was allowed to eat something more filling and delicious. A former psychiatrist at JYP had also discussed the effects these extreme diets have on female or male idols. She highlighted the immense stress these idols face over dieting and staying fit, and that numerous idols had developed eating disorders because of these restrictions. One of these idols is IU, who admitted she suffered from eating disorders in the past. She linked her illness to the malicious comments targeted at her and the pressure she had to handle over dieting. IU confessed she would eat until she would vomit because she felt empty inside. While IU thankfully managed to win over her illness, these companies need to install huge changes to prevent these instances from happening again. A former JYP trainee had also opened up about the disturbing practices they used to keep her underweight. In 2021, the former trainee Kimberly Chen revealed that the company wanted to control her weight before she hit puberty and began to store fats naturally. Kimberly was told she must keep her weight at around 38 kilograms, which is quite impossible for a growing teen without any medical help. So the company supplied her with slimming pills, and Kimberly had to take 5 at a time, even though the recommended dosage was 1 pill per consumption. The pills had a negative effect on her health, and Kimberly recalled her heart beating super fast, feeling dizzy for up to 30 minutes, and not even being able to stand properly for that time. Overworking their idols, restricting their food intake, and not being considerate towards their injuries are 3 of the biggest things JYP has been criticized for. In 2022, many Stray Kids fans voiced their concerns over how busy the group was despite not having enough time to rest. After their Maniac tour in the States, the group only had a couple of days before they flew to hold more concerts in Japan before they were back in South Korea to participate in the ITZY Games. Stray Kids members worked tirelessly and without complaints through their busy schedules, even though some of the members bore visible signs of injuries, with Lee No showing signs of exhaustion at the beginning of the tour. Hyunjin performed despite having a cast on his arm, and many other members were seen with pain relief tapes on different parts of their bodies. So when Stray Kids was announced to participate in the ITZY Games, many of their fans were reminded of the Levanter era when the boys slept throughout the game's broadcast because they were so exhausted during promotions. It's known that idols suffer physical and psychological consequences of their highly demanding jobs across all K-pop agencies, but JYP had a suspiciously high number of idols being put on hiatus due to their deteriorating mental health. In 2019, Stray Kids Han didn't participate in a couple of the group's events due to his anxiety disorder and even had to leave one early because of his anxiety. In their statement, the company shared that Han experienced extreme tension when being close to crowds of people. At that time, the symptoms of his anxiety were variable, so Han only appeared at selected scheduled events depending on how he was feeling that day. ITZY's Leah was also on a hiatus for 10 whole months because she suffered from anxiety and extreme tension. She only returned in July of this year after being put on a break in September of 2023. It's worth noting that when Ryujin and Leah were asked if they had the option to attend therapy sessions provided by the company, the girls didn't have an answer, and the next year, Leah would go on a hiatus due to her anxiety. Twice as Mina didn't participate in the group's world tour in 2019 because she struggled with extreme anxiety and insecurity towards performing. In October of 2020, it was Jonghyun who had to step back from the group's schedule to focus on her mental health as she struggled with anxiety as well. Even though she rejoined the group in January of 2021, Jonghyun would go on yet another break in August of the same year because of her psychological anxiety and panic disorders. While everything these idols went through is terrible enough, it only seems to get worse. On December 9th of 2024, KG from the group VCHA announced her departure from the group and the agency through her Instagram story. This news was a huge shock to netizens, as VCHA has been on a hiatus for months, and their fans were patiently hoping for their comeback in 2025. Instead, they learned that KG was severely mistreated by the company staff and had even filed a lawsuit against. KG claimed that the working environment was so horrible that it drove a member of the group to attempt to take her own life, as well as caused another member to harm themselves. KG also mentioned that the environment at the company encourages eating disorders and puts extreme limitations on their personal lives. On her Instagram story, KG expressed her worries for the other girls who were still with the company, and that if she didn't make the decision to leave in May, she would never become the artist she aspires to be. KG also accuses the company of not paying her no way enough for the hard work she had done, adding that she is currently facing a massive amount of company debt. KG spoke kindly about JY Park himself and the company executives, claiming that it's not their fault directly, but it's rather an issue that is deeply rooted in the K-pop industry. JYP USA shared their own version of the story, claiming that KG included false and exaggerated claims in her statement. The label also added that KG left the group's residence in May, and their attempts to resolve the situation with KG's representatives were to no avail. To say that this news caused a divide between netizens is an understatement. Most of them pondered about the differences in how Eastern and Western trainees handle the same conditions of the K-pop industry. While some of them support KG's decision and argue that her actions are justified, adding she has a reason to defend herself from harm, others believe that limited sleep, weight restrictions, and intense surveillance are aspects of the profession. Because of this, many netizens wondered if creating Western-based K-pop groups was a good idea at all. Some netizens even described this as a cultural clash where Korean culture tends to value collective responsibility while Western culture focuses more on individual rights. Looking back, we can see that Korean trainees accepted these conditions without objections, but a reform that would protect trainees and idols from suffering these consequences is still very much needed.